excited to talk to you about books. I love talking about books. It's my favorite thing to talk about. So this is going to be really fun. And like she said, I will have a little giveaway at the end of one of the books that I talk about. So just to give you a brief introduction about myself, as I mentioned a little bit ago, I started out as a school librarian for about 5 years. And then I started my new job in January 2020, which was a way to start with COVID. But I started with the Indiana State Library, and I've been there as a regional coordinator. And I love, love, love my job, work from home. And then in my spare time, I read and I write book reviews. And I'm also trying to write my first book. So I don't know if that'll ever happen, but it's a goal. So anyway, I write for my blog, and then I bookstagram, and then I do reviews for School Library Journal and Library Journal as well. So basically I eat, sleep, and breathe books. So I'm excited to show you guys my 20 of my favorite romance novels. And they're going to be of a variety of genres. So each slide will kind of show you the genre and when it was published and by what publishers. You can find it easily. And then just maybe a little tidbit about it. And then I'm just going to talk these books. So if anybody has any questions along the way, throw those in the chat. And then you can ask me questions at the end. So I hope you enjoy. Here we go. All right. So I've kind of divided my books into my little subgenres just to give you an idea when we first look at them. So I have young adult, Regency, historical, contemporary, romance, fantasy, paranormal, romance, rom-coms, which are my personal favorite, Hallmark-esque, which are kind of tame, feel-good reads, and then Steamfest, which are steamy reads, which I do happen to love those too. No stigma here. All right. So first we have Breathless by Jennifer Niven. And this is a YA contemporary, and it has a little bit of an Indiana connection. Claude is 18, and completely out of left field, her parents inform her they're splitting up as soon as she graduates. And then she's whisked away to a remote, albeit beautiful, island to stay with her mom for the summer. Away from her best friend and her possible new love interest, to a place of strangers and new beginnings. So it's on this island that she meets a boy who wears no shoes, a boy with a past, and a boy who will change her life forever. A heartbreaking, beautiful story of first love and friendship, family and forgiveness. The story is based loosely on what happened to Jennifer Niven when she was 18, and to search the book. And she's originally from Indiana, I think Bloomington maybe. So it's really cool. So that's Breathless. Next up is Truth or Beard by Penny Reed. And before I get talking about this one is actually free right now in Kindle. Amazon, you can download it for free. It's been free like for the past 2 or 3 days. So if you're going to download, I would do it like tonight. Highly recommend. So free book, yay. I can put the link in the chat in a little bit too. So this is Truth or Beard. Beards, bikers, brothers, oh my, identical twin brothers, Bo and Dwayne Winston, are both devastatingly handsome and full of Southern manners, taught by their late mama, Bethany, who was the beloved town librarian in Green Valley, Tennessee. Where Bo is outgoing and bubbly, his brother and business partner, Dwayne, is broody and reserved. Jessica James, the daughter of the local sheriff, has always had an unhealthy crush on Bo and an adverse reaction to Dwayne. Imagine her surprise when a case of mistaken identity leaves her speechless in more ways than one. To add to her confused, angsty feelings, Dwayne just can't seem to get enough of good girl Jessica. And he's also got into a bit of trouble with the local biker gang, the Iron Wraiths. Strap in for a hilarious introduction to the unforgettable Winston brothers, of which there are 7, and the picturesque town of Green Valley, Tennessee. And this is my all-time favorite series, and this is the beginning. And they all have these cross-stitched beards, and each cover is a different brother. Cletus is my favorite, number 3. Check it out. You'll love it. All right, next we have The Happy Ever After Playlist by Abby Jimenez. This is a romantic comedy, and the movie is just started in production, so very exciting for that. Ever since Sloane's fiance, Brandon, died in a motorcycle accident 2 years ago, she's been a shell of her once happy, exuberant self. A talented painter, sadly, all she can bring herself to paint now are commissioned prints that don't require much creativity or passion. On her way to the cemetery to visit Brandon's grave, which she does every year on the anniversary of his death, a big sloppy ball of fur gets in her way and drastically changes her future trajectory. On the dog's collar, it says, Tucker, a good boy. After finding the owner's phone number, she begins calling Jason to try to get his dog returned to him. Her daily calls go unanswered and unreturned. Meanwhile, she grows closer to Tucker, taking him for walks, laughing at his antics, and smiling again. And her best friends, Kristen and Josh, are glad to see the old Sloan is coming back again. How will she ever be able to give this dog back? And where's this Jason guy? Well, Jason's a famous singer-songwriter, and he's been on tour for the past 2 weeks in Australia. When he finishes his tour, he starts to get all these hilarious messages and daily updates from Sloan about her time with his dog. And the photos she sends of their adventures, he can hardly believe his luck. Not only is she hilarious and loves Tucker, but she's also very beautiful and sweet. He's smitten. So the only problem is his life is not conducive to settling down with a relationship. He's on the move, traveling from tour to tour, and he doesn't even have a house. So does she want to give up everything in order to travel with him? Especially since she's still grieving the sudden loss of her fiance. It's kind of an impossible situation. You're gonna have to read it and find out what happens. Dog lovers will love this one. All right, next, unless you've been living in some sort of cave, you've probably heard of Bridgerton, thanks to our friend Netflix. But these books have actually been around for 20 years before Netflix. Imagine that. This is like the first Regency romance that I ever got into, and now I can't get enough. So this is the series starter, The Duke and I. Daphne Bridgerton is one of 8 siblings, and even though her 3 older brothers haven't yet found wives, it's her turn to promenade and attend stuffy parties in ballrooms across Regency London in hopes to find a worthy suitor to marry. She lost her father when she was young, and her eldest brother, Anthony, has stepped in as a father figure to assist with finding her a husband. Well, Anthony hopes that this will take the spotlight from the fact that he should probably be married by now. Daphne isn't like other women, throwing themselves in front of men and being paraded around in uncomfortable corsets on display for the picking. She's always been known for kindness and friendliness. But a proper lady of the ton need not be known for kindness and wit, rather the ability to please one's husband, produce at least one heir, and host elegant parties in a well-kept home. What's worse, the queen has determined that Daphne is the one to watch this season. All eyes are on her, it seems. And after a chance run-in with the gorgeous, brooding Duke of Hastings, Daphne proposes they start a fake courtship to help each other out. So Simon, he wants nothing to do with marriage, and Daphne wants to be out of the spotlight. It's perfect. The plan works at first, but then something else happens. Even in the glittering cutthroat world of London's elite, love ignores every rule and plan. And if you read the first one, you'll probably want the second one right away. All right, one of my very favorites, What You Wish For by Catherine Center. This has a main character, a school librarian, and she nailed it. And I asked her about it. She said her mom was a librarian, so also very cool. So this is about Samantha Casey, and she's a school librarian at the Kempner School in Galveston Island, Texas. The founders of the school, Max and Babette, are like parents to Sam. At her previous job, she just blended in with her surroundings and kept to herself. And then she decided to leave that job because she had this unrequited crush on the king of play, fellow educator Duncan Carpenter. Duncan has a zeal for life and fun that Sam had never seen before, and she believed herself to be madly in love with him. Well, his wild outfits and juggling and dance parties and fun-loving demeanor were legendary at her old school. He was handsome and enigmatic, but however, he never seemed to notice her, and he would speak to her and she'd turn into a bumbling, embarrassed person. So after years of wishing for Duncan and the heartbreak of watching him become serious with some new perky administrative secretary, she had to get away. So she left. She left the past and Duncan behind. And at Kempner, she's blossomed into her own person who is comfortable in her skin. And even on days when her heartbreaking past or the threat of a seizure loom on her mind, she pushes for joy and she strives to live her very best life. Then it all comes crashing down around her when in the very first few pages, Max suddenly dies at a party and he was like a father to her. Well, his replacement is being searched for. And the next thing she knows, they find a replacement. It's none other than Duncan Carpenter. Her Duncan Carpenter? Oh, the Duncan Carpenter? Sam is reeling. Will he remember her ridiculous crush? Will she have to be on the sidelines while his perfect wife and gaggle of perfect children parade around the school? Oh, the man who arrives, however, is no nonsense, buttoned up in a stiff suit and closed off like a fortress. And to make matters worse, he doesn't even recognize or acknowledge Sam. They worked together for years, and Sam even cat sit for him once. How can he not remember her? She's not the mousy little mouse she used to be, that's for sure. But she hasn't changed that much. So begins a school year for the record books. If you're looking for a heartwarming book that will bring you a crazy amount of joy, you've come to the right place. All right, this is the one that I'll be giving away at the end. I have a brand new shiny copy for one of you. So this is Regretting You, and this was contemporary, and a lot of her books are steamy, but this one's pretty contemporary, not as steamy, but still amazing. And this one has kind of a YA story mixed in with the adult story too. So Regretting You. Talk about an impossible situation. 34-year-old Morgan is babysitting her 2-month-old nephew, Elijah, for her younger sister and best friend, Jenny, on Jenny's first day back to work at the hospital, where Morgan's husband of 16 years, Chris, also works. She gets a call to come to the hospital because Chris has been in an accident, and she arrives to find Jonah, Jenny's fiance, also there. They soon learn that Chris and Jenny were together in the accident and that neither of them survived. In an instant, her husband and her best friend are gone. Her entire support system has vanished in a moment. Now, imagine you were Morgan for a moment. Imagine the gamut of feelings you would feel for when you discover that Chris and Jenny were having an affair for how many years and keeping it a secret right under your nose. How can she pick up the pieces of her shattered heart while she's caught in this whirlwind of shock and disbelief and betrayal and grief? She's never felt goosebumps or butterflies when she married Chris, but she found out she was pregnant at 17, so she did love her husband. She tried, but he was the kind of guy everyone loved, and he was an amazing father to Clara. She can't tell Clara because he was such a great dad to her. She doesn't want to break her daughter's heart. So how can she ruin this for her daughter? A battle of the wills begins. Her daughter is a teenager, and she's feeling her oats. And then there's Jonah. Morgan's unhappy with him because he left town right after high school without a word or a visit, and they'd always had this special connection. So now Jonah's left with a 2-month-old baby and the same crippling fears of anger and betrayal and grief as Morgan. Can you see the writing on the wall, my friends? Only Morgan is strong-willed and selfless, and she's determined to keep her feelings for Jonah bottled up and take the blame from her daughter in order to keep the painful truth about Chris and Jenny quiet from Clara. There's also this parallel story going on with Clara, her daughter. Her father was against dating Miller, but now Jonah, uncle teacher, which is so cute. Jonah's her uncle, but he's also a teacher. So they call him Uncle Teacher. Uncle Teacher is she and Miller's history teacher, and he assures Morgan that Miller is in fact one of the good ones, and he really is. So Clara and Miller's story feels kind of like a little YA book that's interspersed in with Morgan and Jonah's very adult story, and they are both amazing, and it's all just written so well, and I think you guys will love this one. So I hope whoever wins it reports back.
Laura, we had a question. So would it work in a high school library? Sure. Would the Colleen Hoover work in the library?
Of all of her books, this one would probably be okay, yes. There's some of her books that are definitely a little too much, but yeah, this one would probably be okay. All right, this one's a good Hallmark-esque romance. Got a little baseball set in Maine, which is really lovely location. And it's a little bit older, but not as well known as it could be. So Evie Drake starts over. So Evie Drake is the daughter of a lobsterman, and she was married to this well-respected doctor in a small seaside town in Maine. Everyone loved her doctor husband because his bedside manner, and he's so friendly. Through the years, she tried to look past his angry outburst and slamming and throwing things and treating her badly. But she's done. He was a jerk. So after years of emotional abuse, she gets up the courage to leave her husband. She packs her suitcase, and she's literally turning on her car to leave, and she gets a life-changing phone call. Her husband's been in a bad crash, and the hospital tells her to come quick. Well, spoiler alert, but this happens right away. He doesn't make it. So this leaves Evie with a number of things. A big chunk of insurance money that she refuses to use on principle. Heavy guilt at feeling overwhelmed with grief, as any wife faced with the sudden death of her husband should. And a sense of relief because she's free now from this constant abuse and anger. And a large empty house with more space than she needs. It even has a separate apartment. So her childhood best friend, Andy, asks her if one of his college buddies can come rent her apartment for a while, and it'll help her make a bit of money in rent and help get his friend out of the limelight. His friend's a major league pitcher, and he needs to get away from New York City and the media for a while because he has a thing called the yips, where his pitching career has come to a screeching halt, and he wants to lay low. He's a famous baseball player, but he's a bit of a head case, but he's also handsome and miserable and charming. His name's Dean, and his reputation and good looks precede him. Dean plans to hide out in Maine while he figures out what to do with his future. All he's ever known is baseball, and now that he can't pitch, what is he going to do? Well, him and Evie are both hurting from loss, and they strike up an unexpected friendship. And when the friendship turns into more, they know that Dean is not planning on staying in Maine. And when the time comes to move back to New York, they must decide if there's still a chance for them to be happy. In life, as in baseball, there's always a chance up until the last out. This one would be perfectly fine for high school too. This one as well. Hallmark-esque romantic comedy, Not Like the Movies by Carrie Winfrey. This one has lots of fun movie references, so movie buffs would love this one. Chloe Sanderson has worked at Nick's coffee shop for a very long time. She enjoys her job and she has a great rapport with her customers. The handsome, brooding owner, though, Nick, has always been there for her, but she considers him a great friend. However, her best friend Annie has written this screenplay based upon Chloe and Nick, and the movie is premiering soon. Thanks to this, Chloe has been recognized as the coffee shop girl. And as such, there's this big awkwardness between Chloe and Nick. Annie didn't even try to change the movie characters' names. She opted for Zoe and Rick, real original. The movie about Chloe's life, however, is not the biggest concern for her. Her father has Alzheimer's, and she's making decisions for his care and visits him frequently. Her mother left when she was younger, and Chloe's twin brother Milo is sort of the Peter Pan type who doesn't do much adulting. So he leaves Chloe on her own where their father's care is concerned. In a rare turn of events, Milo and his boyfriend Fred, a male model, have recently moved into town. So they complicate her plans further. Well, Chloe spends her time baking pies and sweets for the coffee shop, and she dreams of one day owning her own bakery. She's always trying to bake the perfect pie, so there's a lot of baking in this book. And while juggling this and her day-to-day life, she has a moment with Nick. They kiss, and that is all. And both of them have feelings for each other, but they decided it'd be a bad idea for a boss and an employee to get into a relationship. And she doesn't want to lose her job while trying to finish up school and take care of her father. But why does Nick have to be so handsome and perfect? So there you go. If your best friend writes a rom-com about you and your boss, it gets a little awkward. Okay, next up, another one of my favorites with the beards. It's set in the same world as the other Beard book. It's Smarty Pants Romance publishes a whole gamut of novels, and they're all set in Green Valley, Tennessee. So it's a bunch of different authors that kind of take this fictional place and then make spin-off series. So this is a spin-off series. But the reason I love this so much is because the adventure on the Appalachian Trail. So this one's a steam fest and a rom-com, but it's also a multicultural romance and lots of adventure. So Happy Trail is a hilarious romantic comedy that takes place on the Appalachian Trail. Ranger Jay Daniels lives in Green Valley, Tennessee, and he prefers the company of birds to people during his days working in the beautiful Great Smoky Mountains. During the middle of a month-long hike on the Appalachian Trail, Olive Perry is dumped by her Instagram famous boyfriend and left to fend for herself. Hot-tempered and beautiful, she's determined she will finish this hike with or without him. She doesn't need a man to save her. When an early snow season comes along, Ranger Jay is tasked with clearing the trail, and he crosses paths with Olive, Snowbird, in the process. Forced to share an abandoned cabin to ride out this horrible storm, both Olive and Jay learn a lot of each other, but even more about themselves. And will this happy trail lead to love, or will it just be another bump in the rocky road of life? So this one, like I said, is pretty steamy, but it's also super adventurous and fun and girl power. She's like, I'm finishing this. It's so good. And there's a second one in the series. Okay. This one is rather hilarious. This one is one that will make you laugh out loud. It's got the exotic locale. It's a perfect beach book. Steamy, but also hilarious. So I gave it a little double genre there. The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. Olive's identical twin sister, Amy, is getting married. Amy's always been the lucky one. She's even financed her wedding and honeymoon through a series of internet contests. Where Amy is lucky, Olive is unlucky. In love, in her career, everything really. As the maid of honor, she hopes to just make it through the wedding and then return to her comfortable, unlucky life. Unfortunately, it means spending the day with Ethan, her sworn enemy and Dane's best man. Of course, then, through some stroke of luck, for once in her life, she remains healthy, while the rest of the wedding party, including the bride and groom, get food poisoning and are violently ill. Well, the only other person that's not affected by the food poisoning is Ethan. Ugh. And now there's this all expenses paid honeymoon week in Maui that's use it or lose it. At the insistence of Amy, Olive and Ethan agree to get along just enough to take advantage of the free vacation in paradise. As luck or unluck would have it, Olive's future boss is also vacationing at this same resort and runs into her and Ethan. Her tiny white lie starts a chain reaction, and soon she and Ethan find themselves pretending to be newlyweds, head over heels for each other. The forced proximity of their shared hotel room, boat ride, couples massage, and the like creates a sizzling, angsty tension between the two. And soon Olive doesn't mind pretending. For once in her life, she feels lucky. So if you read this, I want you to report back about what you thought about the boat ride. It's quite hilarious. All right. And next we have The Queen of the Beach reads 28 Summers by Ellen Hildebrand, the legend. So this one is also a perfect beach read. And this one has a little bit of an Indiana and Notre Dame connection. So I was reading this and I'm like, wow, she's really describing South Bend and it's spot on. She's talking about Barnaby. She's like naming the roads. And I'm like, what the heck? So I was actually in a chat with her at one point on Facebook. And I said, I didn't think she'd answer my question, but I asked her, what's the deal with South Bend in your book? And she said, oh, Laura. And I'm like, oh my God, I about died. But she said her husband, her former husband was from South Bend and his parents both work at Notre Dame. And so she spent a lot of time in Notre Dame and South Bend. I'm like, what? So it's really cool. It's fun to read that. Okay, so 28 Summers. Link's mother, Mallory, is on her deathbed and he's given strict instructions to call a number that she had waiting for him in her desk drawer. He doesn't know what to expect, but it's certainly not Jake McLeod, the husband of Ursula de Gournay, who is currently in the running for president. How in the world does his mother, who lived her life in her beloved Nantucket, know Jake McLeod? As it turns out, Mallory knows him very well, even better than anyone else, it seems. 28 summers ago, she met Jake during her brother Cooper's bachelor party, which was held at Mallory's beachfront cottage. Jake and Mallory formed a bond that would last them through marriage, life-changing blips through the years. A bond so strong that carries their one Labor Day weekend a year romantic affair through 28 summers. Until now, when Mallory learns that she's dying. Not a spoiler, because you find that out right away. A breathtaking, unputdownable retelling of the classic film, same time next year. This one will leave your heart reeling and your eyes teary, but you'll love it all the same. So, one of my very favorites. Okay, this is one of my favorite YA books, and if you know me at all, you know I do not read fantasy, but I had to read this. Well, I didn't have to, but I was the Rosie chair, and I had to read this because it was one of my selections. So I read it, and it was amazing. And then I read some more fantasy afterwards, so that's saying a lot. So this is like Viking clans, which I find I really like. This is called Sky in the Deep. Elin is 17, and she's been raised alongside her fellow Aska clansmen to be a fierce warrior. One day on the battlefield, fighting against the Riki clan, she catches a glimpse of her brother fighting with the enemy. She watched her brother die 5 years ago, so how can this be? Before she can get to the chief, her father, to tell him what she saw, Ellen is captured by a Riki warrior named Fisk and taken to their village in the mountains. Reeling from her brother's betrayal and the strong attraction to a man she knows that she should hate, Elin must trust Fisk. Yeah, especially if she ever wants to get back to her beloved family and the Aska clan. Elin and Fisk must find a way to stop the ancient rivalry and reunite their clans together before they're both ruined by another ruthless clan that's set against destroying them all. Part Wonder Woman, part Vikings, and a whole lot of heart. This one's a good one. And this one's pretty clean too. Lots of fighting, lots of girl power. All right, Jasmine Guillory, her books are all fabulous. And this one is her most recent Party of Two. Party of Two is an interracial romance, and it's just a timely kind of political topic. Party of Two is a delightful contemporary romance with a timely backdrop concerning interracial relationships in a high-stakes charged political climate. Olivia Monroe has just moved to LA to start her own law firm alongside her best friend and fellow attorney, Ellie. And when she meets a random, really hot white dude in the hotel bar and they have a conversation about pie and life, she's left feeling like the move to LA was the right decision. She never dreamed that she would see Max again, but she enjoyed the short time she had with him nonetheless. That hair, those eyes, she has a hard time getting him out of her mind. Then she's flipping channels on her TV and hears his unmistakable voice. Holy guacamole! That guy from the bar is Senator Max Powell. What are the odds? She can hardly believe that one, he made time to talk and to flirt with her, just a regular middle-aged Black woman in a power suit, and two, that she didn't recognize him right away. But then after another chance meetup at a charity event, she's completely blown away that when Max sends her a cake to her office the next day. Cake, even better than flowers, followed by an invitation to a date. So, being the girlfriend of a hot, super rich senator has its perks, which I'm sure you'll love reading about. But Olivia quickly finds out that being in the limelight and scrutinized by the media is not where she wants to be at all. Max is so wonderful and attentive, and she finds herself falling for him. How can she keep the guy, but also keep her low-key lifestyle? Tough one. So good. All right, this one is my paranormal romance pick, and kind of like fantasy, I never really read much paranormal either, but I did enjoy this one, and it's by the Queen, Colleen Hoover. This one's pretty not too steamy compared to some of her other ones. And I think this one was sort of written sort of YA because the characters are a little bit younger. So this is about Leeds, and he's a singer-songwriter. He meets Layla when his band plays at her sister Aspen's wedding at this beautiful bed and breakfast located in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. He never planned to meet the woman he wants to spend the rest of his days with, but that's what happens. There's no denying the fire that ignites between Leeds and Layla. But then an unexpected attack leaves Layla in the hospital fighting for her life and threatens to rip them apart forever. Though she's mostly recovered physically, the attack has taken a toll on Layla mentally, and she isn't the same carefree, joyful girl that she used to be. Leeds looks for a way to bring back the spark that they once shared, so he books a surprise trip to the same bed and breakfast in Kansas where they met, which is now for sale. Leeds could never have prepared for the reaction in Layla's behavior once they arrive, or the bizarre things that keep happening. And then there's Willow, another guest at the hotel, who Leeds feels a strange connection to and wants to help. Torn between Layla and Willow, Leeds will need to make a choice. An impossible choice, it seems. He can't help them both. And I will not lie, this one was really creepy as I was reading it at parts. Creeped myself out, but all good. It's all good. Okay, this one, the Kiss Quotient, so good. This one's definitely steamier than I anticipated. I mean, something with math on the front, you're not expecting that, but hey, it was good. Rom-com, the character has Asperger's, which is really cool to see from their perspective, the main character, and then it's multicultural romance as well. And it's Berkeley, they make amazing romance books. So this is about Stella Lane, and she's 30 years old, and her world and her work revolve around math. She makes up algorithms to predict purchasing, and she's made more money than she really needs. What she hasn't made any time for, however, is romance and relationships. Stella has Asperger's, and just the thought of French kissing someone throws her for a loop. Therefore, if she ever wants to date, she's going to need a lot of practice. That is where Michael Phan comes in. The handsome Vietnamese man has no problem teaching her everything she needs to know. As they check off the boxes on their lesson plans, Stella learns to French kiss, but also yearns for all the other feelings being around Michael is causing her to experience. Could their agreement turn into much more? So this one is super good. I hope they make this movie too. We'll see. All right, TJR, she knows how to write a heartbreaking story. This one's One True Loves. This one's contemporary, and there's a love triangle, which I happen to like. So this one's about Emma and Jesse and their high school sweethearts. They get married in their 20s, and they plan out this life of traveling the world together, far from the expectations of their hometown in Massachusetts. But then Jesse's helicopter goes missing on their first wedding anniversary, and he's gone from her life. Devastated, Emma moved back to Massachusetts and tries to put her life back together. Now, 10 years later, in her 30s, she meets Sam, an old friend, and she finds that she's falling in love again. She and Sam get engaged, and Emma thinks she can be happy. But then Jesse is found alive and well, and she learns that all these years he's been trying to get back home to her. So now Emma has a husband who she thought was gone and a fiance, and she truly loves them both. So which one is her true love? Talk about an impossible choice. There you go. This one might bring some tears too. Okay, another YA pick. This is another one that was on the Rosie list, and it was laugh out loud. It has arranged marriage and just hilarious, amazing characters. So this is about Dimple Shaw, and she's determined to be successful, choosing a college and career path where she can get the best education rather than her very traditional mother's plan for her to find the IIH, ideal Indian husband. Dimple is pleasantly surprised when her parents agree to send her to this expensive summer program for web developers called Insomniacom at SFSU, where she plans to attend college in the fall. She plans to code an app and win first place in order to have the chance to work with her idol, developer and past winner, Jenny Lint. She has no clue that her parents are planning for her to go so she can meet and then marry the son of their friends, Rishi Patel. Rishi Patel is a romantic at heart, and he believes in tradition, and he's thrilled when his parents tell him that they're sending him to Insomniacom in order to meet his future wife, Dimple. He is under the impression that Dimple has been included in their plans, though his very successful, wealthy father plans for him to study engineering and follow in his footsteps. Rishi's dream is to pursue a career in creative arts with comics, in which he has substantial talent and interest. Sadly, knowing his father will never approve, he has agreed to follow the path chosen for him. You can probably imagine what their first meetup will be like, but it's likely much more comical than you will imagine. They say opposites attract, but whoever they are haven't met Dimple and Rishi. So the coffee on the front is funny because the first time they meet, I believe he says, "Hello, my future wife," and she spills her coffee all over him, and then it just gets hilarious from there. So it's very clean, but very cute, and big fan. All right, The Hating Game. This one's a rom-com, very steamy. Enemies to lovers, anyone? One of my favorite tropes. This one also has a movie in production, and they keep put it on Instagram with the actors, and I'm like, come on, just make the movie already. So this is about Lucy Hutton. She's a model employee, charming, accommodating, and loved by everyone except Joshua Templeman. And oh, that feeling is so mutual. Though Josh is gorgeous and dressed like a model and physically intimidating, he's also very efficient at his job. Unfortunately, they share an office. They also share ridiculous games like the staring game and the mirror game and the HR game. You get the picture. And both are fiercely competitive. Then a new promotion becomes available, and guess who wants it? Lucy and Josh. If Lucy wins, she'll be his boss, and if she loses, she'll resign. She needs to focus on winning, but now she seems to be daydreaming about Josh, dressing to impress him and thinking she has him all wrong, particularly after a mind-blowing kiss in the elevator. Maybe he doesn't really hate her. Maybe it's just another one of his games. So this, if you like enemies to lovers, this is the perfect choice for you. All right, now we have a contemporary romance, One Day in December. And this one's a little bit of a forbidden love. Also a good read for the holidays, or maybe if it's just snowing incessantly. It's a great read for that. So pick it up. One Day in December. Though she doesn't believe love at first sight exists, Lori happens to see a man through a snowy bus window one December day and instantly changes her mind. Their eyes meet and something magic happens. But then the bus and her one true love are gone. Her attempts to find the man on the bus, to which she refers to him to her best friend Sarah, are fruitless for a whole year. Then, in a horrible twist of fate, she's reunited with him yet again at a Christmas party, where he's introduced as her best friend Sarah's new boyfriend, Jack, the man from the bus. The man she's not been able to stop searching for in crowds and thinking about nonstop, wondering what if. Both heartbroken and stunned, she's unable to tell Sarah, of course, and must force herself to be happy for her best friend. But she can't help wondering, what if? A moving love story follows for Lori, Sarah, and Jack, where in a span of 10 years, there's friendship, heartbreak, missed opportunities, roads not traveled, and destinies reconsidered, all along the path to happiness. And now we have another, this is sort of a holiday themed romance for New Year's. And this one's contemporary. This one is pretty funny and pretty tame too. Minnie Cooper, a baker in London with a most unfortunate name, has always known that her New Year's birthday is unlucky. Each birthday tends to be more of a disaster than the previous year. And it's all the fault of one Quinn Hamilton, who was born on the same day as her 30 years ago on New Year's Day. He beat her out by minutes in winning the cash prize for the first baby born in London in 1990. Not only did he get the prize, but he stole the name that she was meant to have as well. Though she's never met him, she's heard the sad tale many times from her mother, and she loathes him. Now it's New Year's Eve and the eve of her 30th birthday, and as fate would have it, she unexpectedly runs into the Quinn Hamilton at a party for their mutual 30th birthday. It appears he's continued to be favored by good fortune, and he's handsome and charming. His life may appear perfect, but there's more to the story, indeed. Minnie and Quinn keep crossing paths, and each interaction leaves them hoping for more. As a bonus for readers, there's little sprinkles of their chance meetings over the years that are laced throughout the story, making it even more delightful. So the reader knows that they're meeting up, but they don't realize they're meeting each other, and it's lovely. So this one's very romantic and quick read. All right, so those are my 20. I could probably talk for like 50 books, but I have to, quit sometime. And here's where you can find my reviews, everywhere you want to be, right here. And then I have my contact info. So if you ever have a question, need a book rec, anything at all, want a book, I always give my books away too. So if you're really looking for a book, hit me up. I'll be happy to share. Any questions, friends?
All right, so Laura, Macy so kindly just shared with everyone that the Hating Game right now is only 99 cents on Kindle, Amazon Kindle. So for those of you who didn't catch that in the chat, thank you, Macy. And then Laura, will you share with us there was a book at the beginning with the beard book that was free right now on Kindle?
Yes.
Will you remember the title?
Yes, it's called Truth or Beard.
Okay.
By Penny Reed. RIED, and it's available on Amazon right now for free as an ebook and all the other platforms as well. But I just checked it about an hour ago and it was still free, so I hope it is.
All right, well, my question was, I saw one of them you had mentioned Montlake Romance, and it said Amazon. So is that like their romance imprint?
Yes, it's an imprint of Amazon Publishing, and Colleen Hoover used to just go through Montlake, and now she's kind of going through, she does her own and then she goes through Montlake, but Montlake used to have like this whole thing for bloggers and librarians, but they don't anymore. So I'm wondering if they're just kind of under just an Amazon umbrella now.
Cool. Did anyone else have any questions for Laura? You're just getting lots of love in the chat. No questions, just lots of love.
I like love. Obviously, I love love.
All right, and then my other imprint question was, you had written Berkeley. Is that another romance imprint?
Yes, Berkeley is Penguin Random House's imprint, and they have rock solid romance like all the time. I love their books. They do a lot of multicultural, a lot of very timely topics.
All right. Do you have any predictions for the genre in the future, or like emerging trends you see?
I find that there's a lot more rom-coms, it feels like. I feel like rom-coms are more and more popular, and also the ones with the cute little covers with like the cartoon like animated covers. I found those are like taking over, which is fine by me. I like them. I'd rather see those covers than like a scantily clad lady with her dress falling off her shoulder and a long-haired man caressing her cheek.
All right, Felina has a question. Do you have an all-time favorite?
Oh, good grief, Felina.
Or maybe an all-time favorite, if it's too hard to say, two favorite books. Maybe favorite title or author.
I would say favorite author, and that would be Penny Reed. And it's just because I've met her and she's just so like down to earth and amazing. And she just started doing indie publishing, and just her books I don't know. I just feel like I can connect with her books so easily, and they just are hilarious. You can always count on being able to laugh and also swoon in every one of her books. So love her.
And then what are your thoughts on the Bridgerton series, on the adaptation?
Oh, I binged it in like a day and a half. I just had to get a few hours of sleep. I loved it. And I thought, my gosh, when are we going to have season 2? I love it.
So you approve?
Oh yeah.
You approve.
And they just announced the girl that's going to be Anthony's love interest in season 2, and she's like beautiful, and I'm excited.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat box. Just everyone saying that their to read list has grown tremendously, or their Amazon cart. So would you remind us the book that you're going to give away? And then I put everyone's names on Wheel of Names. I wasn't texting.
Okay.
I was entering names earlier. Okay, so it's the Colleen Hooper book.
Yep.
Regretting You.
The one with the gal that's husband and sister are in the accident, and then she has to take care of her nephew with the old boyfriend.
All right, and then I'll make sure to connect you and Laura.
Okay.
So here we go. Okay. Woo. Give it a moment. Nicole S. I think it's Nicole Stevens. Is Nicole here? Still here? Nicole. So no one left, so I think Nicole must still be here. Nicole. Oh, you know what? She's not here anymore. Of all the names. Okay. Well, we're gonna do another one then.
Yeah, let's do another. Must be present to win.
All right. Nicole W. Let's see, Nicole Walter. She is here. My phone liked the name Nicole tonight. So, hey, Nicole. She gave a little celebrate emoji. Just for fun, we love to give stuff away. State Literacy Association or literacy councils, just make it worth it that you come out and participate in our events. I have Ellen's copy of Troubles in Paradise. So if you haven't went and you want to read, first person who puts their name in the chat, I will connect with you and I will get it to you. So anyone in the chat, throw your name, Felina. All right, Felina said she wants it. So I'm going to email Felina and I'm going to make sure she gets my copy of Troubles in Paradise. All right. Any more questions for Laura while we have her on the line? All right, well, this event was brought to you by Central Indiana Literacy Association, a local council of Indiana State Literacy Association. If you are not already a member, it's only $15 a year, and that money goes toward programming and thanking all of our great presenters. So thanks again, Laura, and we will follow you on Instagram and Facebook and your blog, and we'll so many ways to connect. So I think you picked up some new followers tonight.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you guys came. So nice to see you and to talk with you about books. So keep in touch.
All right, lots of chat. All right, all right. Hopefully, Laura, you can take a look at the chat before I close it out so you can see all the lots of new fans.
Awesome. And then if you want to get Nicole's info, she can just send me an email and I'll mail that.
All right, I'll do an email introduction, and then I'll edit the recording and I'll send that as well.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right, thanks everyone.
Bye.